not only do you want to leave a good job, because it's all the clients remember you by, but you just want to make people proud.
Welcome back to the Glasgow podcast, everyone, and I thank you again for listening in. Again, we're taking a different journey today, career-wise. We're entering the world of civil engineering. I've got on with me today the Managing Director and Owner of Megatech Projects, George Rowe. George, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Gary, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate, I'm good. You've been a very popular person to get on the show. I've actually had a few messages putting your name out there, so you're doing right things, whatever you're doing at the moment.
I find that hard to believe, but thanks very much for saying that. It's good to hear. Good to hear.
Civil engineering, it's a massive market. Your own company now has been running for 10 years, or just over 10 years now. For yourself, obviously, the question that I had, and it's a question that's come in from a few people as well. What prompted you to start out yourself, and what were you doing up to that point of kind of deciding to go and start your own business?
First of all, Gary, civil engineering sounds very technical, and people think of civil engineers when they think of civil engineering. I'm not a civil engineer. Mm-hmm. Civil engineers or engineers are very technical, detailed guys. I'm actually a chartered surveyor, mm-hmm. So civil engineers will tell you I'm a failed engineer. But I've always dealt with companies and dealt with the money side of things and the contractual side. But a bit like some of the guys I've listened to in your previous podcast, you don't set out. When I set this company up, when I left school at 16, I did not think in 30 years' time or 20 years' time I'd set up a company that made railway station platforms from polystyrene. Mm-hmm. I would never even dreamt of it. I wouldn't have known I became a chartered surveyor at that time. Very, very briefly, when I left school, I was playing football, and I got the chance to join a team called Clydebank, who were part-time professional, a mixture of part-time and full-time professional at that time. But I'd started my professional training as a trainee quantity surveyor with a company called Tarmac. So when the opportunity came to join Clydebank, I had a chance of going full-time with guys at that time like Owen Coyle, John Davis, Paul Harvey, Sean Sweeney, or part-time, some of the guys like Ken Eady, Big Jim Roger. These are for older guys, they'll know who I'm talking about, but I decided to stay part-time and do my professional training. So I've done that, continued played football through the career, always part-time, done that for about 17 years, and got chartered, worked as a commercial director for a railway company, blah, blah, blah. Down the line, I got to the stage where I got wind of this unique system that had been used elsewhere in Europe, and I thought, as a non-technical guy, it looks straightforward. I'm going to give it a bash. But up to that point, Gary, everybody I'd worked for, I'd always made them money, but I didn't actually build anything. This sounds weird, but a lot of the guys you've got on, they produce something. You've got the boys for Box Fresh who they produce something. You can see a before and after product. You've got the K9 Way guys who go out and you can see the before and after. I didn't. I just made people money. My old man used to work for a company called George Leslie, and I used to drive around, and my boss was saying to me, "Dad, see that footbridge there? Grand, I built it. See that mobile phone mast? Grand, I built it." Because my dad worked in civil engineering, but I never actually built anything. So I setting the company up, Megatech, just over 10 years ago, actually just over 11 years ago now, gave me the opportunity to build something. And it's the old phrase about, I want to leave something behind. Yeah. So as well as going out and working for myself, Gary, I had the opportunity to actually build something, produce something, and leave something behind. And now I love nothing better than driving around and people say, or I can say, I built that. You're actually producing something. So that was a big factor in setting the company up 10 years ago.
Yeah, you've got a kind of, it's a legacy then, as you've kind of touched on there.
you're saying legacy, aye, but people can leave legacies without actually building things.
Yeah,
but
true.
Aye, it's something physical that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And if years to come, if my boys are going around telling their parents that, see that railway station platform there, grand about it, then I'll be quite happy.
Yeah. And obviously from going from that idea of wanting to get Megatech launched, what were your kind of main challenges in getting yourself out there? And it's something that Craig Swan had sent in a question asking a kind of similar question of how did you make your route to a market that's just consumed by concrete? And it's obviously a completely, as you say, it's a concept that's totally different. What were your main challenges in getting that into that market?
It's brilliant. I don't know who's saying that question in you said there, but that is, anybody who brings out a new product that's new or innovative, the biggest challenge they've got is convincing people that it will work compared to the old tried and tested ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And when I first set it up, I must admit, making railway station platforms out of polystyrene, it sounds stupid. Polystyrene is what you get to pack your TV boxes when it comes. No, that's what people think.
Yeah.
So the first challenge is showing people that it actually works. It could actually do what it's meant to do, or it can achieve all the things they're wanting it to achieve. That's the first part. Then you've actually got to physically demonstrate to the people who approve it. So no matter, just listen, currently we've been through COVID, obviously, and you've got these vaccines coming out. It's all right somebody putting their hand up and saying, oh, we've got a product here that will do what you want it to do. But the people who approve it will then say, well, you need to prove that it does everything we want it to do.
Yeah.
So I had to do that. I had to go through with specialists in the field, guys like Exover, Warrington Fire, to demonstrate that my system would comply with all the Network Rail standards, all the European codes and all the British standards. But these are the same way. It all sounds technical, but it's the same way anybody. Before you get any new product approved, you've got to demonstrate that it does what you say it's meant to do. So that was the first one. That was the first challenge. You get that done, then you prove it to Network Rail, who are my approval body, and then they say, right, that's it, we approve it. But that then, Gary, the same way, that stage was the easiest stage. Next stage then, I'll say it with anybody who's got a new product, is getting somebody with the balls to use it for the first time.
Yeah.
That's the major thing. Luckily I found somebody. We done a station down in Peterborough where the guy there, I don't know use the technical term, but the main guy there gave us an opportunity. We done it. We showed that it could do what they wanted it to do, and that was great. Once somebody's had the balls to put their name to it, once you show that it works, you find other people then jumping in the bandwagon. And go back to Box Fresh. I remember a guy saying there that he done these first, I think, a pair of Puma trainers for his mate, and then when he actually shows what he can do, his mate tells his mate, who tells their mates, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
We're 10 years down the line, but we're still telling our mates, and getting the message out there.
And see, when you see at that stage when you were trying to obviously get that first person to take a chance on it, was there a lot of people who were maybe kind of dismissive of the concept that you were bringing, or was it all positive towards you at that point?
It's certainly not all positive, because it's a new product and were they dismissive? No, but again, I remember a guy told me, it's going back to, it was Amstrad. It's the IBM Amstrad. Years ago, IBM made all the computers, and then Amstrad came out and said, actually, we can do everything IBM do, but ours are much cheaper. Yeah. And you're like, all right, very good, but who's going to take that chance first? And when you're going to somebody and say to them, ours is better, quicker, cheaper, but does everything you want it to do, they've probably heard it all before. So they're not negative. I'd probably say they're a wee bit sceptical. That's what I'd probably say.
Yeah, just more of that kind of unsure about how it's going to work and what benefit it's going to have.
Aye.
And obviously at that point, once you've got the station in Peterborough that took the gamble as such, or took the chance to see what the work could do. How did you then move from that to building Megatech reputation-wise and keeping that momentum going?
It's funny, Gary, again, everybody who talks, reputation comes down to, I reckon, probably two main things. One is how you deal with people. Mm-hmm. How you deal with people, that affects your reputation. And the other one is quality. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter how cheap you are, how dear you are, how quick you are, how slow you are. When you finish and you leave, all you're remembered by is the quality of the product. Whether it's the fresh trainers, whether it's a restaurant and you're putting out a lovely meal, doesn't matter what the price is. When you go away, people remember the quality. So quality, first of all, no matter what you were doing, we made sure when we left it was left right. Mm-hmm. And the other one is deal with people. I'm telling you, mate, what really improved our system. I can tell you every individual involved in it, mm-hmm. because I dealt with them. When I'm doing work with a client or we're dealing with our supply chain, I deal with the individuals. It's people you deal with, not the company or the name.
Yeah, you're just, it's rather than that kind of faceless corporation type of thing.
Aye, it certainly is. So building a reputation, it's build relationships with people. Mm-hmm. People don't let people down. If I'm running for a train, the train's late, I blame ScotRail or whatever. Well, no, see if you know that driver and you know him personally, it's that driver that's let you down. Mm-hmm. And it's deal with people. When I'm dealing with people, if somebody gives them, same anything, if somebody puts their trust in you to deliver something, you're not going to let them down. Mm-hmm. And also when it's finished, and I say this to your guys all the time, if you ever do a job and when you finish you say it will do, it's not good enough. Mm-hmm. That's not good enough. You've got to leave that the best you can possibly leave it, because that's how you'll be remembered.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And see, from, I know you touched on it there, you've obviously, you had a long career playing football as well, and to go from that into having your own business, was there any kind of skills or qualities that you transferred from your playing days into the business world, or anything that was easily transferable for you?
It's anybody who plays in a team, whether you're your local Sunday team or Rangers or Celtic or even Scotland, if you're part of a team, you realise that no matter how good or bad you think you are, the team can't succeed without you doing your bit. Mm-hmm. And that's it. When you go out, Megatech, I might have started it, but where it is now, it's not down to me. It's down to everybody involved in it. And again, Gary, back when you're doing your other work, or you're doing this podcast, there's a lot of work involved in it. There's a lot of people involved in it. And without everybody playing their part, then you can't achieve it. Mm-hmm. So business is very much a team game. Mm-hmm. And it's appreciating the part that every person plays in it. And that's what we're good at, but we enjoy it. We mm-hmm. know how important everybody is. Everybody is. And that's it. That whole concept of a cog in a chain, or I don't know what you would call it, but just being one wee part of a big thing, mm-hmm. without a doubt, the whole football bit does go over. Also, I've had a very successful football career I had, so mm-hmm. you've got to be used to disappointment as well. Mm-hmm. And business, especially when you're developing a new product, it's no plain sailing. You're going to have setbacks, you're going to have knockbacks, but you get up and you go on with it.
Yeah.
But probably the biggest thing, Gary, I would say is that in football, playing 17 years, I played part-time. You don't do that without commitment, dedication, and hard work. And probably all the guys you've been speaking to with our businesses, they'll tell you the same. It doesn't come easy. You've got to have commitment, dedication, and hard work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've obviously, when you were playing part-time, you're still combining that with jobs, etc. as well, and still having to put that commitment into both at that point.
Well, the perfect example, when the company I worked for, they used to send us to college in Croydon, mm-hmm. which is South London. Now, I was working at Coolport at the time. I was down in college in Croydon. And Clydebank had a good Scottish Cup run. When would this be? I mean, my dates are terrible, but we had a good Scottish Cup run. So we were playing, I think we got to the semi-final and played Celtic away back when guys like Peter Grant and Jackie Jakinovsky and all that were playing, Andy Walker. Well, we, in the rounds up that, we were playing St Mirren in the days when Paul Lambert and guys like that played with St Mirren. I was down at college in London. I was flying up in the afternoon, getting picked up at Glasgow Airport, going and playing the game at Love Street as it was at that time. After the game, getting back to Central, jumping on the overnight train, the Caledonian Express, whatever they call it, back down to London, 6:30 in the morning, going straight to college and getting on with my day's college work. So that way, the football didn't interfere with my work, and my work didn't interfere with the football. So, again, there's a lot, but that's, people say, oh, there's a lot in that. See, when you're doing something you love, or you're doing two things that you love, it's very simple, it's very easy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, as you were talking about that there. Did you find it easier because you had passion for both of them, and it wasn't a chore as such to do either?
It's not. So if you do the job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. It's the well-known saying. But when I was playing football, everybody plays a sport, whether it's golf, rugby, football, tiddlywinks, whatever. We've all got something that gets us away from the tribulations of daily life. I've always loved playing football. I was getting paid to do what I loved doing. Yeah. And it was the one thing I always remembered all the way through my career, whether it was from Clydebank to Queen of the South, Arbroath, wherever, still in Albion. It was, people were paying to come and watch you playing football. People work hard to pay you to come, and I was getting paid to do something I loved. So that, it didn't matter the level, it didn't matter where we were playing or when we were playing, I loved it. Yeah. And my work, I always seen my work as something new every day. I'm working at places like Faslane, Coolport, away down to Kent to work in a power station. I'm working in Leeds. I loved it. Just loved doing it. So managing to come, even then when I was working in Leeds, I'd find a local part-time team, Farsley, Celtic, Guiseley, and I'd go and train with them. I'd go and train with them during the week. Back up, at that time it was Queen of the South, and play with Queen of the South. So it's I mean, you're out meeting people, you're meeting new people all the time, and who wouldn't love it? Yeah, no, it's just living the dream, isn't it? It's just every young guy's dream. You hear the teams, I say Queen of the South and Clydebank. We were living the dream, but it was, I loved it. I loved it.
I think it's you say, but I think anybody at any level of football, if you're at that stage where you're part time or whatever you're doing, if you're getting paid to play, it's just life goals for people. I mean, my football hero played for Clydebank, Davy Cooper. So yeah, I always remember that name. So you know, it's just things like that. But no, I think it's.
He's one of my heroes as well. Unfortunately, he was there before and then went back after I left. They wanted to see him again, and he made sure I was away before he went back. But there's another one. You've got Davy Cooper. When I was at Queen of the South, I played with a guy called Henry Templeton. Now, Henry's boy is David Templeman. Right. The boy who played with Rangers and Hamilton, and I think it was Hearts and Stenhouse Moor. But when he was born, he was called after Davy Cooper. And I actually think, I'm not certain here, but I think his middle name might be Davy Cooper Templeton.
I think it is. I think you're right.
It's all these wee things that go around and come around. I remember playing Queen of South. We played Stranraer one time, and in our team at Queen of South was a young boy called John McCaig. Well, we also had a boy called Tommy Bryce. Right. Tommy Bryce played with us. Tommy Bryce is in the Guinness Book of Records for the fastest ever hat trick. I think he scored a hat trick in under 3 minutes one time. Wow. Anyway, but Tommy was playing, and he says to us before the game, he says, you know something, I'm playing with young John McCaig. He says, and I used to play with his old man. So he'd went full circle as well. He'd actually played with father and son at different times in his career.
Love that.
It's all the wee stories you get in. You just mentioned Davy Cooper there. Unfortunately, I missed him. at Clydebank, but that's one thing I'd love to have played with him.
He's a footballing god in my eyes.
Yeah.
No, definitely. A question that I had, and again, I'll combine it with a question that came in from someone else. Obviously, you've been running the business since 2009, and the thing that I always ask people when they're on, everybody looks for the end product and the brilliant stories that come with having your own business. But what I always ask is, what was the kind of low points for you, and was there any real struggles? And it links into one of the questions that came in from Paul Bain, and he'd said, what was the biggest mistake you made, and what did you learn from it? So I suppose they both kind of tie in with each other, if there's anything that comes to mind for you.
Well, one thing I definitely know is when it's your own business and you are responsible for everything, the highs are much higher, but the lows are much lower.
Yeah.
I mean, the lows are where you've developed something, you're before you've got it approved, you've been dealing with, you find the right person to deal with, you've everything lesson, and then you hear nothing for months. And then when you finally get a hold of them, they just turn around and say, oh, sorry, I'm not dealing with that anymore. And you're like, well, who am I dealing with? They went, I don't know. That's a low. That's where you think, oh, I'm back to square one again. I'm back to, I mean, the lows are, we done a job on East Coast Main Line. We were doing a job at a place called New Northgate. So we do in England and the East Coast Main Line. Now, Gary, we only because of how busy the train is there, we only get 6 hours a week working on a Saturday night. Right. So in 6 hours, we've got to go in and hammer it, do as much as we can, and get back out. This Saturday night we were in, we've got all this plan. It's like big machines that go on the track. You've got telehandlers, which are big telescopic forklifts. You've got wee diggers. You've got everything going. This night, the telehandler, the forklift, got a puncture. The track, the tracks that go around on the mini digger came off, and there was a cable that nobody knew was there and didn't show up when we done the scans. Somebody hit it. Now this is all happening, and we've got 3 hours to go on a Saturday night. And on the East Coast Main Line, if you don't finish when you're meant to finish, you get major penalties because it costs a fortune. And I must admit, when at that stage, and it's battering in the rain, it's freezing, you're thinking that I might as well just shut the door just now. But you've got guys working with you who are experiencing what they do, the puncture's repaired, the track's put back in the mini dig, you've guys on standby just in case these things happen, the cable's sorted, everything's checked, it's back to normal, and we finish. Now, that night, it was relief, but it was actually the fact, you know what, you employ the good guys, the guys who know what they're doing, just in case things like this happen. But honestly, that night, I could have shut the shop up there and then. That's the biggest thing. So it was a real low, but the highs are much higher. As I say, it's quality. One of the ones that springs to mind just when you're saying it is talking about leaving something behind. About 4 years ago, my mum died. Mum died from cancer. 8th of November, so just over 4 years ago. And we were then doing the biggest job I've ever done, a station called Bath Spa, down in Bath, obviously. It was the following March. We put a lot of work into it. And for us, Gary, it was the biggest job probably the biggest job I've ever done, and might be the biggest job we will ever do. It was 16 days solid. When I say solid, I mean 24 hours a day.
Constant. And
the value of the job was, well, over £4 million. So we're doing over £4 million in 2 weeks. And the preparation, with 150 guys working with us, preparation, planning, everything great, but you still have problems. But that's why you have the good guys working with you. So we deal with it all. And I must admit, on the Monday morning, after the 16 days, when the first train went in, I was walking along with James, my brother, who worked with us at the time, and the two of us had a tear in my eye. And it was, all I'm thinking is, I hope my mum's proud. That's it. And it's, you're talking about that it's an inspiration or whatever else. That's all you want. Not only do you want to leave a good job, because it's all the clients remember you by, but you just want to make people proud. And that was a major high. Again, that lasted 5 seconds, and then you're thinking, right, what's the next job? What's on to the next game?
it's quite a defining moment as well. And then, as you say, do you think that's then just the way you are, that you do then just kind of put that to one side and go right into the next challenge right away?
You have to, mainly because you don't get time not to. It's, I mean, we always have a wee celebration after every job. I mean, my company, it's very much a family company. It's my boys work with us, my nephew, my niece. But the only member of direct employee of our company is a guy called Stevie Mallon. But Stevie is effectively family. He's been my mate for over 30 years. He's played with just about every football team I've played with.
Yeah.
I think Stevie's boy plays with him just now, but Stevie is family, so it's all family. So when we finish a job, I'll just finish one down in Devon, a place called Livingston Commando. Just finished that. We just take a wee night at the end, have a wee drink, and think, you know what, we've done well. But that's it. The next day, it's on to the next one.
Yeah, you move on right away. And do you do the same? See, with obviously you described that one as a massive low when you had the short time scale to get things done. Do you analyse those points, or do you still just park them and just go onwards and upwards from it?
No, we always have a lessons learned. You got these fancy terms, but you work on what went wrong there. Did we compensate? Did we have contingencies in place that were sufficient? What can we do better next time? Because honestly, no matter what job you're in, you think you've covered every base, and it could be the most stupid thing that jumps up and bites you in the bum. So you're always learning. I mean, now we've done over 70 platforms, and we still, certainly anywhere near it, we do not know everything. We're always learning, always double checking, always triple checking.
Yeah. And the thing that I'm curious about, and I've asked a couple of people that have been on in kind of much the same situation as yourself, how do you find it when the business is predominantly family from a working point of view? Is it something that you enjoy, or does it come with its kind of pros and cons?
I think everybody will tell you, or some folks say, never work with family. I wouldn't work with anything else. It's maybe it's just my family, and I'm not just talking my immediate family, I'm talking about extended family. It's personal, Gary. It's I mean, Stevie's down there. Stevie's our quality man. When a job's finished, nobody leaves until he's happy with it. And we never, it doesn't matter how long we're there for, it's never left until he's happy with it. And that is personal. And it's not because he gets a wage or whatever else, it's because it's personal. Yeah. And the same with James, Rebecca, Martin and Logan who do stuff with us, it's personal. And it's not a case of they're letting their dad down or their uncle down. It's their name, it's Rowe. Everybody knows the name is associated with the company. So I must admit, I think I would struggle to work with anybody else who isn't family.
Yeah, after being in the situation you've got.
Aye.
Obviously, you've been in business for such a long time now. Even going back to, it could be from the start, or it could be from any point really, but is there any bits of advice that you were given that have kind of stuck with you and you would still use just now?
Probably no advice. Because I think people realise you don't get anywhere without hard work, as we said earlier. Yeah. But I would maybe say the big thing that stands out is you can't get anywhere without people helping you. And every stage I've been at, people have helped me. Not because there was some benefit in it for them. They helped me, Gary, because they could help me. I used to go, I didn't have an office. I would go and have meetings with Network Rail, and the people there, the reception that knew them would say, go and use that office for an hour in advance and then meet them. That's just a stupid wee simple thing, but it meant a lot to me. Yeah. And so many people along my way have helped and continue to help me. And that's a big, so now I don't do it because people have done it for me. I do it because I can. If I can help anyone with anything, I will. But I think most decent people are like that anyway. Yeah. But there's never been any sound words of wisdom. Well, maybe no. I worked for a company called Land Engineering years ago, and the guy that owned that, a guy called Davy Sutherland, I remember he said actually that if you leave a good job 80% of the time, you'll get what you're due. So that always sticks in my head, but that goes back to what I've said to you about quality. You remember for the quality of your product.
Yeah, rather than anything else. No. And see on that as well, obviously not as much advice, but even from the point of view of, for anybody listening in who may not be the same field but might be looking to start a business, or they're kind of toying with the idea of doing it, is there anything you would say to people in that position based on your own experiences?
Funnily enough, I met a boy recently, a boy called Andy Webster. Some people remember him. I used to play football with Webby, with Andy Webster when he was at Arbroath as a boy. And he wanted to play with Wigan, Rangers. I think he played about 20 odd times with Scotland.
Aye, centre back, isn't he?
Big centre half, and he's now involved in the coaching at St Mirren. But very, very clever guy. He's done all his masters and everything else after football as well. And I was just playing away talking to him, and he's like, and what came out of it was, it's the biggest thing is networking and never miss an opportunity. Now, networking, I'm not talking about some professional body or the Institute of Hairdressers have got to do in Glasgow. So I don't mean that. I'm talking about if you're in the pub and your mate's got a boy there you've never met, talk to him.
Yeah.
I'm talking about if you're at your cousin's wedding and you're sitting at a table with some people you don't know, talk to them. That, to me, is networking. Or some people might just call it socialising.
Yeah.
That's probably the right. It's socialise. Honestly, you never know who you're talking to, or where a throwaway word or a throwaway line could lead to something. That's all I'd say. And to some people that comes naturally. To some people that comes. I went to a do in Glasgow one time, something. Honestly, I'm in there to begin with, and I was there myself from our company. I was talking away to some people, and I was talking to a girl, Gary, and she says to me, our company sends us on courses on how to break the ice with people. I'm like, you what? Surely. Now again, all right, fair enough, somebody's identified you've got to break the ice, but I can't believe that. Do it all the time. If you're sitting at a table, just talk to people. Talk about the weather if you want to. Talk about where are you from, or how do you know such and such. But never miss an opportunity, because you never know. The most stupid throwaway, like, I've been looking for somebody who does green flowers at the fit, or I want somebody who does a pink something up. And I know somebody, and that's how things happen. So just network or socialise or talk and never miss an opportunity.
No, I think that's really sound advice for anybody. And it is just as simple as you say, is just sitting down and having a chat with somebody that you've maybe spoken to before, because you don't know what will come off the back of it.
You don't know. Many times you've done it. Many times you've been somewhere, you're sitting at a table with somebody you don't know. You start talking to them, and before you know it, you know somebody that they know, the ice is broken, and it leads on. What do you do? What do you do? I'll tell you this, we always do it. We used to, I don't know, years ago in the town, the big thing was the celebrity boxing. Tommy Sheridan, all these people were fighting. So I used to go with my mates, and we've been to town, and I just started the business up and everything. But I mean, if you're out in the town and you're talking to somebody, and they ask you for your own business, the last thing you want to say is, I've got a railway company that makes platforms with polystyrene. You know what I mean? So people come up, your own business. I would say to them, I clean the cat's eyes in the middle of the road. The lad, you what? I said, do you? And I'll turn to my mate Neil. I say, Neil, tell Brian, what do I do? He cleans the cat's eyes in the middle of the road. But anyway, I was at a celebrity boxing one night. I think it was down in the Marriott, and we went back to One Up or something after it. It was a Sunday night, Gary, so 90% of the people in the do had been to the boxing. But one of the boys I knew was there, and there was a girl with him. We started talking, and I said to her, what do you do? And she says, I'm a designer. We're actually got a framework contract for Network Rail just now to design 12 railway station platform extensions all the way down the West Coast Main Line. I'm like, no chance. I said, that's what I do. I said, I've just started up this company, innovation. We make railway station platforms from polystyrene. She's like, aye, right, very good. I'm saying to my mate Neil, tell Gene what do I do? He cleans the cast iron in the middle of the road. There you go. That just knackered me completely. And she's like, aye, right. I said, look, no, seriously, I do. So maybe another wee tip there when you're talking about networking and talk to people is always tell the truth, because you never know where that will come in.
Yeah, exactly. And did she end up believing you, or what happened there?
Aye, she did believe me. I never get any work out of it, mind you, but she believed me, aye.
Oh, brilliant. And the thing that I was curious about, obviously, given your line of work and the businesses you've got, and it is innovative and it was different, who are your own inspirations, be it in a business world or any kind of sector, to be honest? Is there anybody that you feel inspired by?
Well, I'll go back. I just said to you, it's my parents. My parents is that's one for, and that's not just say the right thing. It's I told you my dad's worked in construction. He's physically worked. He's been all the way through working to a works manager, foreman, and physically worked all his life. So, and somebody who's out the house at 6 in the morning, no back into 6 at night. So that's an inspiration. That's that work mentality. My mum ran our house. I've got 2 brothers, so there's 3 boys, my dad in the house, and my mum ran the house. And I told you when we'd done the job in Bath Spa after she died, that still inspires me. It still inspires me, everything we do, whether it's the stuff we do with charity, whether it's the stuff we do with work, whether it's what I do in my life. She just think, I hope I make her proud. And so that inspires me. But there's one guy does stick out. I'll see how good your memory is now. A way back, when Graham Souness came to Rangers, there was a famous photograph, Gary, and it was a guy called David Holmes. It was Graham Souness and another guy. And the other guy's name was Freddie Fletcher. Now, Freddie Fletcher, see, you don't even know him, but please find out who this guy is. My mate, 2 mates of mine, Des McEwen and Adrian McKenna, run professional office supplies, mates forever. And they were down doing business in Newcastle one time. And Des says to me, George, is this guy Freddie Fletcher wants to meet you? I'm like, who's that? I know that name. He says, he was a guy, Rangers, he's at Newcastle now, he wants to meet you. Now, I was wee George Rose, trying to set up a business. Now, what's Freddie Fletcher want to see me for? So I dinged it. I just ignored it. And then 2 weeks later, Des again on saying, George, he's been chasing up, he's wanting to meet you. I went, aye, all right then. I said, so I was going down to Sanderstead. We'd done our first ever trial station down in London. And I thought, right, I'll arrange to go and see him. So I spoke to his PA and all that and arranged the meeting. But Des had said to me, Gary, he says, George, he's a pure name dropper. He says, but he knows them all. He says, I'm talking about Pelé, the Queen, Ronald Reagan. He says, he knows, he's got pictures of them all in his office on the walls and everything with him. And I'm thinking, what's he want to speak to me for? So I swear, Des is his own website. So you go on Freddie Fletcher and it tells you all about him with all these pictures. Well, I was driving down there. I was driving down to meet him across the 69 to Newcastle. And I happened to be just catching up with a big mate. I mean, a guy called Stuart McDonald. Stuart lives and works in Manchester, but he's from Greenock originally. And I'm driving down and she's already off to the day, so I'm heading down to London, but I'm over to Newcastle to meet this guy. This is Freddie Fletcher. He went, is he from Greenock? I went, well, funnily enough, he is. Aye, that's where he started. He was on the board at Morton and then he went to Rangers. He went, George, I know him. He says, he used to go to school with my mum. He says, and they used to have a shop, I'm going to say Bogton or something, but some part of Greenock where he used to cash the guy's gyros. He says, he used to cash the guy's gyros for him. I went, no way. He says, it's the same guy. So I get down to Newcastle, went in to see Freddie. His PA takes us in and I meet him and all that. And he's saying to me, George, how you doing? Great to meet you. Come on in. And he says, what I'll do is I'll tell you a wee bit about me. You tell me a wee bit about you. And then I'll tell you why I'm wanting to meet you. I said, fair enough, friend. Now, Gary, this guy was about 70 at this time. So he was telling me, I was the youngest ever non-Labour member of the council down in Greenock. I was on the board at Morton. I went to Rangers. I was the first non-millionaire director at Ibrox. I went to Newcastle. He was the guy that brought Shearer and Keegan there. He's the guy.
Right, okay.
He's the guy.
Was, Freddie Shepherd as well. Was he at Newcastle at that time?
No, he actually worked with, as people get mixed up, he worked with Sir John Hall.
Right.
Freddie Fletcher.
Right.
And he's the one that extended the stadium. And
right.
So he's very well known.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm saying to him, he says, there's a picture of me with the Queen, and there's a picture of me with the Pope, and there's a picture of me with Pelé. And I'm like, look, Freddie, I'm not being funny. I said, I can find all that out by looking at your website.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm not interested in the fact that you went to school with wee Jeannie Smith. I says, and you used to cash your boys' gyros for him up in your shop in Bogton or whatever in Greenock. Mm-hmm. He's like, how do you know that? How do you know that? I said, well, I make it my business to do my homework when people I'm coming to meet.
Yeah.
Gary, I swear to God, it was pure luck on the way down. So he thought this for years. I'm talking away to him. And I'm saying to him, Freddie, I'm not being funny, but look around your office. What do you want to see me for? Mm-hmm. What he done is actually set some security thing up with, I'm going to say somebody like Sir John Stevens, right, who was the ex-Northern Ireland Commissioner and head of the Metropolitan Police or something. Mm-hmm. He'd set this up and he says, when you're in dealing with your business in the railway, you're dealing with all the main contractors, mm-hmm, Balfour Beatty, Morgan Sindall, Carillion, all these guys. All I want you to do is mention our company when you're in there.
Right.
And I'm like, but Freddie, I would do that anyway. If I'm doing there and somebody says to me, Doug's running wild, I would say, speak to John at K9 Way. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's you tell people what you would do anyway.
Yeah.
I said, so that's what I'm after. So right, I'm away for it. I kept in touch with the guy, and what an inspiration, Gary. This guy was 70, mm-hmm, and his zest for life, his willingness to still take on a new challenge. And he'd obviously been very successful through his life. Yeah. And then I went down, I heard he was dying from cancer, so I phoned him again, and I went to visit him. Mm-hmm. I went to visit him down just outside Newcastle. Yeah. And I went to visit him, and it was weird. I was going to visit him knowing, and it's the first time this has ever happened, up to that point, it never happened in my life. I was going to visit him knowing it's the last time I would see him alive. Yeah. So I didn't know how I'd feel, so I went to see him, and he was in his house with his wife, and he was still full of his usual pattern and having a laugh. And when I left, I didn't feel sad. I felt, I'm not rejuvenated, I don't know if that's the right word, but I felt, that's a guy who could easily have taken it easy for the last 10, 15 years, but he still got such a zest for life and wants to take on board a new challenge. And that's the one guy that I took a lot of inspiration from. Yeah. And again, another guy who's been through his challenges in his life as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so, that you couldn't feel to be
Freddie Fletcher. If anybody listens, go and look that guy up. Mm-hmm. He was some man.
Yes, and even just listening to that wee bit there that you've gave it, you couldn't feel to be inspired by somebody like that. That's incredible.
No, but he must have been early 70s when he died. But no, I mean, he's just, and he loved meeting people. He loved telling his stories. He was telling me stories about, I'm not being funny, but he would say to me, you know, we Dick McClumford. And I'm like, no, who's Dick McClumford? Mm-hmm. He was the head of the SAS. He was the head of the SAS when the Iranian embassy siege. And I go, Freddie, how am I meant to know Dick McClumford? No. And then he would say, I remember the time he was telling me, Maggie Thatcher took him in and says, right, Dick, how do we deal with this? Mm-hmm. He'll say, well, Prime Minister, we can silently drill through the roof and drop wee stun bombs in, and we would everybody would be knocked out, and we'd be able to get and pick off the hostages and the bad ones easily, and nobody would be killed. And Maggie Thatcher said, well, it's not much of a statement to the world, that. As a plan B, well, Prime Minister, we can jump off the roof, go all guns blazing, in through the doors, in through the windows, and make a big noise, but I can't guarantee how many hostages we'll save. And she went, so Dick, we can we can silently do it. Nobody knows what we've done, and we take we get all the bad ones, or we can make a big statement, jumping off the roof, in through the windows, and I prefer your plan B, Dick. and I'm like, I don't care if that's true. He's telling me a brilliant story, and there's probably some truth in it. Because we all know how that did end. But it's just, when he's trying to away me with guys, how am I meant to know the head of the SAS and bonus? I mean,
that's incredible. I suppose if you're in that position where you know these people normally, you probably just expect everybody else to know them the same way that you do.
Maybe the people he's mingling with, I exactly do know them. But, and it was all like that. He was going through all these names of chairman he was dealing with at Liverpool. He mentioned, remember I was dealing with Hearts, and you know Wallace Mercer? No, I thought brilliant, because I actually knew who Wallace Mercer, I don't know Wallace Mercer, obviously I didn't know him. But I thought, well, one last actually know a name he's talking about. But just, what a man for a zest for life when he could easily put his feet up and enjoyed all his hard work at that point.
No, it's incredible. I'll need to have a look at that myself, because you've got my curiosity now.
Look at that picture. David Holmes, Graham Souness, when he just signed, and the other guy was Freddie Fletcher.
Right, no, definitely will.
Sorry, Gary, can I tell you who my inspirations are?
Of course you can.
Something's came to me. Do you know that nowadays, as you know, but especially charities are really, really struggling. Really struggling because they can't get doing their usual fundraising, dinners, gala balls, coffee days, whatever. But I think there's two sides to charity. There's the doers and there's the givers. And me, Megatech, we're givers. That's easy. All you give is what you can afford to give. But see the people that inspire me. See the doers. See boys like, I mentioned Des McCune. Des, my mate, has over the years for Macmillan has raised probably touching £1.5 million.
Wow.
Now, he's a doer, and there's a lot of people associated with him who help that. Girls like, I don't know if you know Libby Emerson.
Yeah,
Libby,
back on side.
Back on side. Now, that girl, we've done quite a bit with Libby now. I said to her, we gave. Giving's easy. But what Libby does and what her team do, in fact, Andy Robertson recognised it as well, because Andy made a generous donation to him as well earlier this year. People at Libby and the work she does, and that's not for any public thanks or that's because it matters to her and she cares about it.
Yeah.
Who else am I going? There's millions of them. Callum's Cabin. I don't know if you've heard of this one.
Yeah.
Caroline and Duncan Spears from Callum's Cabin. We do a lot with them. I wouldn't say we just give. We do other stuff with them. Brilliant charity. So see, these people, they inspire me.
Yeah.
It's Libby, Caroline, Des. If you meet them anytime, they're full of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're knocking their pan in, climbing mountains, doing kilt walks, to raise money. And every penny is appreciated. Every penny. And that's the people that inspire me. That makes it, see, if you make £1 and you can give a wee bit of that £1 to help benefit somebody else, then brilliant. But it's the people that do the work, the doers, they inspire me.
Yeah.
And that's the people I love.
And that probably aptly timed as well, because I had a message this morning from John, who runs the K9 Way, and what he had said was, didn't have a question, but he's like, please pass on a massive thank you to George for the generous donation towards his Christmas appeal. Now, I've spoke to John over the last couple of weeks about this, and he was over the moon, like, to the difference that you made towards that, and that's obviously had a massive impact on his Christmas appeal as well. So I think you obviously credit to yourself for that as well. Whether you're a doer or a giver, everybody plays their part.
Exactly. We were saying way back earlier on about everybody's a cog in the chain or whatever. But again, I only gave, our company only gave because we could afford to.
Yeah.
It did make a massive impression in John, but so does the Pound the Nation for the wee boy that's sold his old toy or something. Now, these are, I'm getting goosebumps saying this here, but it's the ones, people can only give what they can give, but it's the, John's, that's a guy, he's got his own business. And by the way, I love listening to that story.
Incredible.
Anybody that serves their country is right away up there in my estimations anyway. That's so, listen to that and what he done with in the army with all the dogs, that right away he's right away up there. But listen to what he's doing and his personal involvement in trying to better kids and kids' futures in the west of Scotland. It touches you. And I must admit, Gary, this is where you must take some credit as well. I've taught everybody playing their part. If I hadn't listened to his podcast on your station, if you want to call it, I would never have known about that.
Yeah.
So this is where we all play our part now. You've played your part to bring this together, if you want to say that. But John is the doer.
Yeah.
He's out there. Now, we've made him a donation, which was his target. But right away, what does he do? That was his old target. He's got a new target.
Yeah.
So he doesn't just sit there going, oh, I've reached my target. No, he's out there wanting to, and by the way, see when he reaches his new target, he'll set another one.
Yeah, no doubt.
He'll set another one, and I'll bet he achieves that as well. And no, I'm grateful for him thanking us, but we only give. In fact, Just Giving page did not exist. By the way, go and find it anyway. K9 Way, Just Giving. I'm sure you'll find it somewhere in there. But if that page did not exist and John physically didn't do all the work he's doing, we wouldn't have been able to give anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, the doers are the ones that inspire me.
I absolutely love that. I've got another question from Paul Bain. He'd fired a few over, to be fair. He was all over this morning.
Bain's good.
I've been trying to get him on for the last 3-4 weeks, but he's just blatantly kidding on his shy. What he's asked was, if you could change anything from when you started, what would it be?
If I could change anything? Nothing. And it's very much the same in my life. I wouldn't change anything. Again, I don't know if this is advice or what I've learned in life, Gary, is you never regret the things you do. I think you regret the things you don't do. The guys, Paul Bain, the other boys I've spoken to, the Fat PT, all these guys, they've taken the plunge. They've taken the plunge and they've went and set. Sometimes they've been kind of forced into it because they've been working and it's getting too much to do both. But they've taken the plunge, and none of them would regret it. If you spoke to some other people who might be listening in who didn't take the plunge, they might regret not taking the plunge. So do I regret anything? I regret going for a bite to eat with Bainey last week and then the consequences of that. By the way, social distancing, there's not have a drink in the restaurant. But aye, some things I regret. Next day I regret a few things and I've got a sore head. But no regrets. And by the way, it's probably why is Paul not coming on? Maybe a bit why other people are a bit reticent to come on just now, Gary. It's a difficult time.
Yeah.
Now, if you bring somebody on here whose company might not be doing too well, they might know that we're in a position where they really want to talk till we see what happens.
Yeah,
but
course.
Conversely, if you bring somebody on here whose business is flourishing, they might not want to come on and say, "Oh, we're doing well," while other people are struggling. It's a difficult time, and we're fortunate. We're talking about the last 10 years. The last 6 months, 8 months have also had an impact on us as well, as it has with everybody. But it's a difficult time. You don't want to come on shouting, "We're doing great," when other people are struggling. At the same time, you don't want to come on and say, "Oh, we're really struggling," because that might not represent how your company's been doing the last 3, 4, 5 years. So it's a difficult time.
Yeah, and it is. You're right. It is a balancing act because you want people to listen in and relate to it as well, and obviously that you don't want the polar opposite of somebody who's absolutely smashing it. Whereas it's awkward for them to talk about it as well because it's not the position everybody sees themselves in just now.
I know, and who knows what's going to happen the next few months, the next year. Who knows? But all I would say as well is what I said is always willing to pass advice on. We've got. Not everybody's got my phone number, but We've got, by the way, we're even getting modern technology. We've even got an Instagram page now.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody wants anything, we've got websites, all the usual stuff. We've got the Twitter thing, you can just remember Twitter.
Yeah.
But anybody wants to contact me, ask anything, or anybody wants help with anything, we're not a bottomless pit. We can't help every charity going.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we might be able to put you in the right direction of somebody who can help some other way. So please, if anybody needs anything, don't hesitate to contact us. There's social media routes nowadays that anybody can contact anybody.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And I think that's good of you to do that. Another thing Paul had asked now, this might be an inside thing, so I'm just going to read it and see if it makes any sense to you. He said, ask him to tell us a story when he took Gary to a game before Gary went on holiday.
Aye, that's too long a story, that one. I probably can't get into that. But Gary he's talking about is Gary Gibb. Gary Gibb's the managing director of a company called Miller Fabrications.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, a guy, and by the way, now you're getting tears in my eyes. Give me 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Gary's a sound, he's your usual rough, tough guy who's worked in construction all his life.
Mm-hmm.
He just lost his mother 2 weeks ago to COVID.
Right.
This was a woman who, another mate of mine, Luciano's got L&L's Italiano in over Newton Mearns. He's like, him and Leo were great mates of mine. They were struggling through COVID. When everything opened up again in July, all of us and all our mates had a wee night in there as best we could to do a turn for your mate in his restaurant.
Yeah.
Gary was there, Gary Gibb was there with Lynn, his wife, and his mother, and his daughters and their boyfriends. And we had a wee night, and we'd done the best we could, complying with all the rules. And his mum's a life and solar party. Now, this is a woman who brought up boys and been through everything again all her life, and the deadly COVID that actually hit his whole family a month ago, and his mum passed away. So you'll never get a more sound guy, and I hope he's all right. He's a great mate. But the story, well, it really is too long, but we went to horse racing down, tell me, down in the horse racing, South England. The Derby's held there.
God, I'm not the most clued up about horse racing.
It was actually the day before the Derby, so we're down there at that. Gary was going home the next day.
Right.
Ended up, me and him sharing a bed. Gary got disorientated. We went out to the toilet out in the corridor. Got locked out, went down to reception it was bollock for some reason. Went down to reception to get back into the room. I had 8 rooms that night. I had 8 rooms for the guys that were staying.
Right.
So ended up going into somebody's room, and the guy was screaming, and it wasn't my room. And to this day, we still don't know whose room. Now, anybody who knows Gary Gibb, he's a big boy. The sight of him standing naked in your room at 5 o'clock in the morning, saying, "It's all right, it's me, George, move over." The guy, whoever's room he walked into, must have shit herself. And I still don't know who it is. To this day, nobody's admitted whose room he walked into. So, by the way, these are the guys that are running companies. these are the guys that are running companies. But, no, Gary Gibb, a great mate of mine, Miller Fabrications, brilliant guy. And I say, gutted for him now because of what he's going through.
Yeah, no, definitely. Condolences as well. It's not a great time for people just now, I think you touched on as well.
No, I know.
And then we move on to your boy Logan. So he had sent in a question this morning, and what he's asked was, what would you prefer, a team full of Jimmy Thompsons or a team full of Stevie Mallons?
Logan's a wee tube, isn't he? Logan and Martin, man. Martin, it's all like everybody. My 2 boys are complete opposites. Team full of Jimmy Thompsons or a team full of... a team full of Stevie Mallons for a fight, and a team full of Jimmy Thompsons for a night out. There you go. They two are 2 of my best mates. They're 2 sound boys. Anybody that knows them, Big Jimmy, runs his own business. Stevie works with us. Stevie works with me. He's been my mate through everything for the last 30 odd years. And no, never separate the two of them. The three of us are great mates as well.
Yeah.
And Big Jimmy played with us at Queenie South. He played with us at Broth. He played with Stevie at Clyde before that. He's a brilliant guy. So no, I would have a team full of Stevie Marlin and Jimmy Thompsons. That's what I would have.
I just combine it.
Team full of them. Stevie's a striker. Jimmy's a defender. Jimmy's the boy who scored with Queen of the South against Rangers in the cup final. Was it 4-3 or 3-2?
Oh, the Manchester year.
That was it.
Yeah.
It was Big Jimmy scored against him. You'll not recognise. I think you'd hear that one, but that's Big Jimmy. He scored against Rangers in that one, and my boys were at it. One of them had the Rangers top one of them the Queen of the South top one.
And see on the thing that I was kind of curious about, and I was doing a wee bit of digging because I knew I was speaking to you, and I know obviously you'd your playing career, and you'd a kind of brief management spell at Queen of the South as well. Was that ever something that you wanted to do further, or was it just at that time it was just something that you kind of stepped in and done?
See a bit what we're saying about everything else in business. Opportunities present themselves. You don't plan them, they present themselves.
Yeah.
I was a captain at Queen of the South. I was 29, and the manager at the time was a guy called Rowe Alexander. And through a sticky stage, the chairman was a guy called Norman Blunt. Norman Blunt is a pure gentleman. And we were at training one night, and he came in and said, "George, we've had to sack Rowan." He said, "Would you come in and speak to the directors?" This is the training down in Dumfries.
Yeah.
So I went to see him, and out of the blue he said to us, "Would you mind taking the team on Saturday?" He says, "You and the senior members of the squad." And I said, "Well, Chairman, no." And he went, "Well, what do you mean, no?" I says, "Well, you can't pick a team with a committee." I said, "If I was to ask each of you directors who'll play on Saturday, you'll all pick a different team." I said, "So," he went, "Well, what would you suggest?" I said, "I'll do it with Kenny Eady." Kenny Eady, who I played with all those years ago at Clydebank, Kenny must have been about 5-6 years older than me. I said, "I'll do it with Kenny. We'll do it for Saturday." And he says, "That's good. It gives us a bit of time to get a manager in place."
Yeah.
So we done it on Saturday, and we won. So he came to us again and says, "Can you do it next Saturday?" All right. There was a bit more time, so we done it again. And that went on to the end of the season. Then we done it for another season. But Gary, this is where you learn, and this is probably a management technique. And there's at the time I had this theory that nobody in a team is more important than anybody else. So see, when we took over at the beginning of the season, everybody was getting the same wage. See, if you're a young boy coming into the team, once you'd played 20 games, you're getting the same wage as me, Stevie Marlin, Tommy Bryce, anybody that had played hundreds of games. You're getting the same wage. And the way we worked, it was a basic wage, more money for playing, and more money if you win. It was all incentive based. There were guys in there coming in. And bear in mind, these were a lot of guys that take over teams. Your mates 1 minute, and then the boss. I was 29, youngest manager in Britain at the time, and I thought I knew it all. No, far from it. So I've got the guys in saying, "Big Jimmy Thompson, I want to sign you. I'm going to give you this." And he's laughing at me. He's like, "You serious?" He says, "I'm going to your boss and they're giving me 10 times that." I said, "I know, but I like you. You're one of my favourites." Didn't matter. He was still going. Derek Townsley, Big Degs that played with us at the time, he went away. I think he signed him all away for $1,000 a week or something.
Right.
Away back then, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're probably talking the equivalent of maybe 7-10 grand now. He was getting that a week, so he was going anyway. So we had these guys playing, and they were all getting the same wage. Everybody was getting the same wage. And at that time, we sold 2 boys. We sold a boy called Jamie McAllister and another boy called David Lilly to Aberdeen. Now, Jamie, both of them on have great careers, but this is what we done with the guys at the time, was we didn't give them a signing on, but what we told them, I'm revealing information here, but it doesn't matter. What we told them was, if anybody signs you, we will give you 12.5% of the transfer fee.
Right.
They were the days when clubs still paid transfers. So Aberdeen came in for him. Paul Hager, he was the manager of Aberdeen, they came in for Jamie. I mean, and Stuart Milne was the chairman. Now, this is where a lot of clubs get a lot of bad press, Gary, but we went up, and we told Aberdeen, look, the boys don't get any sign-on for us, but we promised them, Aberdeen were paying $100,000 for Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've done is they gave Queen of the South £112,500.
Right.
So effectively, they went, Queen of the South, there's your $100,000, Jamie, there's your $12,500.
Mm-hmm.
So they were great, and that's how we done it. We went through that season, and people who say, no, if you've got a striker, if you've got Ronaldo in your team, you've got to pay him more than the wee journey guy in the middle that does all the hard work, because he can win a game for you. And so I think we realised that. That was the season. We'll see how good people's memories are here. That was the season where the Hamilton players went on strike and didn't play.
Oh, right, yeah.
So we with my management theory, everybody gets paid the same. We're bottom of the league. We were 12 points behind Hamilton.
Right.
And it came out, and for Hamilton players no playing, they get fined or they get penalised 15 points. So it meant they get put 3 points below us, but who did they still have to play? Queen of the South. Queen of the South. I tell you, it was a good way out. So they played us, and we managed to draw with them. We drew with them, and I actually think I scored. I don't score a lot of goals, but I scored that day. So we managed to stay up. By hook or by crook, or by strike, we stayed up. And that end of that season, they brought in a guy called John Conway as a manager. And at that time, that's where I left to go and join Arbroath, just as a player.
Yeah. Just
as a player. And what I realised, see, when I'm back playing, I'm still only 31 when I'm back playing just as a player. I played at Arbroath for a couple of seasons. I went down to Stirling Albion to play with Murray. You know, with Alan Moore?
Aye.
With Murray, and Mark McNally was his assistant. I'm down there and played, and I tell you, Gary, see, after managing and seeing all the nonsense that goes on in coaching is a very, very small part of managing. And see, when I went back to just playing, turning up to training, turning up for a game, I loved it. The last 5-6 years of my career were the best because I loved it. I was just a player.
Yeah. And
it was the best part. Managers, anybody is a part-time manager, not such a thing. Dick Campbell, a great mate of mine, we sponsor Arbroath. It's our bad put something back. Great club, we sponsor him. And Dick is a mate, and he's his own business. Him and Pink, his brother, have got their own business, and he's meant to be the part-time manager of Arbroath. No such a thing. It's a full-time job that you fit your full-time job around about.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Never stops.
No, it's honestly, anybody that does it, especially the guys in the lower leagues who have got no money, terrible facilities. Honestly, don't ever look at them thinking they're lucky. Those guys work their butts off. And if you look at minimum wage, no chance. These guys, but the hours they work, we're lucky they get £1 an hour.
Yeah.
Honestly, take your hat off to them.
Would you ever go back to it?
No. It was a great insight. I mean, at the time, I'm dealing with managers at clubs I was dealing with were who were there? Sandy Clark, Paul Sturrock, Jim Leishman, Bobby Williamson was a Kilmarnock at the time. I'm dealing with them to get loan players and everything, and I was wee George Rowe, 29-year-old guy for Queen of the South. I'm talking to Jim Leishman, who's won, I don't know, he's won dozens of championships.
Yeah.
About arranging a friendly and all that. And I love that. I love mingling with that, and I love finding out more of what goes on in it. When I go back, no. No chance. Man, when I finished playing, I actually done work with the Sun newspaper. Yeah. Which was great. I would go and, so rather than going to football on a Saturday, I went to cover games. Other guys like Big Ali Graham and all that, these guys all do it as well, and it's brilliant. It keeps you involved with all the nonsense that goes with managing or coaching. And Gary, I loved that. Yeah. So I was about 37 at the time. For a good few years, I done it, set the business up, and I was still doing it, but the business became too much. I'm dealing with Ian King at the Sun and Roger Hanna. Roger's still there now, and Roger runs at King. He's over in Canada. Yeah. But you're dealing with these guys, and you're loving it. I'm out talking to people, and me interviewing them. I'm not a journalist. There's real journalists out there like Kenny MacDonald and Tony Haggerty, who was a bit at the time. These guys are all field journalists. That's what they've studied. You know what I mean? And I'm the wee guy that played football, asking questions. But I mean, that, I love that. I had a guy, Bill Leckie, with me, I mean, Bill.
Yeah.
And with his son, Gary, I say, how do you do it? And by the way, believe it or not, there's a structure. You've got a structure to this podcast. There's a structure to anybody studying and they do their thesis, whatever. There's a structure to it. Even the son has a structure to it. Now, one of the times, my first ever game, believe it or not, the structure to the Sun, at the time, you had the Sunday Mail and the News of the World. So those two papers, Gary would do the match report. So the game would happen on a Saturday. Come a Sunday, they'd report that, Brian crossed it to Tony and Tony headed into the far corner. That's what they would do. So come the Monday, the Daily Record and the Sun, they didn't want another match report. They wanted a wee story that went with one of the players or something that tell a wee bit about the guy that shook his hands because he just had a new baby or he put a dummy tit in his mouth and all that.
Yeah.
A wee story. So the first game I went to, believe it or not, was Stirling Albion against Forfar. So I'd got up early. Stirling Albion manager was Murray, Alan Moore, who I'd played with. So I'd go up early, walk around the pitch, and Ray Farningham at that time was the manager of Forfar. I knew Ray just was playing against him, but I didn't know him, so I'm just, how you doing, Ray, blah, blah, blah. And I was walking on the pitch talking to Murray, and he says to me, we're going to win today. By the way, this is what he'll probably not love me for telling me this again, but he says to me, we're going to win today. I went, oh, that's great, that you're confident. He went, no, we're going to win today. I says, well, how are you so sure? He says, me and Kim had a session this morning. Kim's his wife, by the way. He says, we had a session this morning. See, every time we have a session before the game, the boys always win. Gary, right away, I'm thinking, I hope you win, because I've got my story. Right? So they did, I think they won 4-2 or 4-1 that day, Stirling. After the game, the real journalists, the real John Trainer, all these guys are interviewing the managers, and what do you think about that? Was that a penalty? Was that offside? What about that red card? And I'm like, I'm not interested in any of that. So when all finished, I says to Murray, I says, Murray, can I write about you and Kim? And he says, how are you going to do that? I says, no, I'll draft it if you say it's all right. He says, hi, write what you want. So I'm telling you about the Sun's format is buff, grab the attention, expand on it, and then tell a wee bit about the game. So the Sun's intro on the Monday morning, still an Albion manager, Alan Moore, knew his team would romp at home against Forfar because he'd spent all morning romping at home with wife Kim. Honestly, Gary, it's on. Wee Murray says, every time you have a session, during the morning of the game, the boys always win. Sure enough, they've won 4-2. Now, that was my first ever story. I loved it. And I'm like, oh, shit, what's Kim going to say? What's Murray going to say? Murray phoned me up. Oh, he was pissing himself. He was killing himself laughing. And I'm like, what about Kim? He says, oh, she's raging. He says, but I just taste her. It's George's first story. I have to give him a good story. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Again, I was getting paid to do that. Go and talk to your mates, write a wee story. And I love doing that. I love doing that. Mates for life. Guys in there with Roger Hanna, Robert Grieve, all the guys are in there.
Yeah.
Sound boys.
I love that headline.
There you go. Romping at home.
Brilliant.
Romping at home.
Amazing. The last question I've got, and it's the same one that I ask everybody that comes on. Obviously, the whole point of doing this is to get different journeys out there and how people are in the position they're in now and the work that goes into it. And if there's anybody that you know that you think would be good to come on and share their own stories.
Oh, dozens there, but probably two. I probably mentioned them slightly in mind. Luciano. Luciano sounds dead exotic and Italiano and all that. I think he's for Kirky or Bishop Big or something, Luciano. But he's got L&L Italiano Racing over in Newton Mearns. You ask all the boys that, like Paul Bay and all that, these guys, it's like a wee hidden gem. Do you know that way? It's like you're glad it's your wee secret.
Yeah.
But but the more people you tell, it will not be a secret. And so Luciano, because that is certainly the highs and lows. His restaurant recently, like any restaurant, will be full of lows. But it's a gemier place, and it's not it's how he makes that work. Luciano would be a brilliant one. Would be a brilliant one. Another one, Prisons and Des, Big Jimmy, all these guys have said, but another one that springs to mind, a guy called Neil McCallum. Neil McCallum, again, mate of mine for years. Neil runs a construction company, but it's not just, they do all the streetscapes. Streetscapes are, years ago, I worked with a company, we done up Buchanan Street, when they done all the granite paving and the fancy benches and all that. Well, Neil's company, Rainton, have actually just finished Sucky Hall Street.
Right.
So he's the guy that's been causing all the disruption. The fire at the art school caused a wee bit of disruption. But Neil's company were working Sucky Hall Street before, during, and after the fire.
Right.
So, and I think he's working up at Sight Hill on another major project in Glasgow. So Neil is a great one. Again, it's highs and lows and how he ended up with his company. Just all the things you're talking about, Gary.
No, I think the two of them sound really good. And again, it's two different sectors.
Completely different. Just the way everybody you've been doing, your tattoo guy, all the way through it. It's a great range you've got. That's why I love listening to them.
No, I love that, and I'll get in touch with the both of them. George, I can't believe that we've done over an hour. That is genuinely flown in, honestly.
Oh, brilliant. I've loved it, by the way. It's amazing. You just roll a wee grenade in there and you obviously tweet something that reminded me of things. But I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed remembering these things, but you don't know.
No, it's been brilliant. It's been amazing, and I think even just the bits there that you've given that you got for other people, it'll prompt me to go away and look into these things, and I know it'll prompt listeners to go and do the same. And I think it's that whole giving the overall picture of our company and not just everything's brilliant. And I think obviously your honesty's been brilliant on that side of things as well. Good.
No, I say there's no any use having all this experience and advice if you're not willing to share it. And that's more than happy. Anybody needs it, give us a shout. Give us a shout. Give you a shout.
Yeah.
Give Paul Bain a shout. Give John at K9 a shout. Help them out with these boys, the doers, the guys that are doing all the work with the charities. Help them out. Give what you can give.
And it's been brilliant, George, and I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate you giving up an hour of your day.
Thank you. No, I've enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
No,
Thanks,
no
Gary.
worries.
Appreciate it.
I will speak to you soon, mate.